Hello there, my name's Richard from Silent Peak, and today we are talking about Topaz Photo AI. Now, Photo AI has long been my favourite combined upscaler, sharpening and denoising tool, and not too long ago you were able to buy Photo AI outright for $200. However, things have changed. The application itself remains as good as ever, perhaps even better still, yet it now costs $200 each and every single year you wish to use it. And that changes things. Now, for some of you who want the best, and it doesn't matter what the best cost, I still recommend Photo AI. But what about the rest of us? Well, I'm launching a series of comparison videos, not so much focused on photo editing, but photo enhancement, starting with Luminar Neo. Now, Luminar Neo differs from Photo AI in that it is a complete photo management and photo editing application, packed with plenty of presets and extremely useful tools. However, it also has photo enhancement, specifically like Photo AI. It also has upscaling, denoising, and blur correcting sharpening, not to mention a generative AI powered erase tool. So this feature parity got me thinking, well, if you don't want to spend $200 every single year for Photo AI, is Luminar Neo good enough? Now, for those of you looking for a quick conclusion, the answer is pretty simple. Photo AI does remain supreme. However, in certain cases, Luminar Neo is certainly good enough, and for many of you, the best value choice. Now, if that is already enough information for you, you can try both Luminar Neo and Photo AI for free. And to that end, check out the description below to the links to the free trials. Alternatively, drop by the Silent Peak store. Here you will also find various free trials on many different photo editing applications, along with exclusive promo codes that you won't find anywhere else. Now, for those of you looking for a bit of a more nuanced answer, let's get started with noise reduction. Now, the bottom line is that Photo AI is several levels above noiseless AI in Luminar Neo, and this is plain to see when we compare the output of each side by side. Specifically, Topaz Photo AI tends to resolve more detail, and there is also less noise in the more uniformed areas of the image. In comparison, Luminar Neo sort of appears a bit posturized. In other words, it starts to look a little bit smudged and a little bit more like an oil painting. So in other words, when it comes to noise reduction, Photo AI is considerably better than Luminar Neo's noiseless AI. However, those of you not looking to spend $200 can get similar and better noise reduction performance than either Photo AI or Luminar Neo by looking at alternatives such as On1 No Noise AI and DxO's Pure Raw. For even more information, you can also drop by my noise reduction comparison tool over at Silent Peak. Here you can compare the output of each noise reduction application against the out-of-camera originals, and of course compare the output of each denoiser head to head. So now it is time to talk about upscaling. Now, Photo AI has its upscaling mode and Luminar Neo has Upscale AI, and things get to a great start with Luminar Neo. Those of you with a very keen eye might notice a little bit more extra detail in the Photo AI image, but nonetheless it is a very close race, and I certainly wouldn't pay a premium for Photo AI's output. However, things change when we move on to our portrait test. Here we can see that Photo AI has done a considerably better job when it comes to sort of rendering those natural features and skin tones. In comparison, a lot of this detail has been sort of smudged away in the Luminar Neo sample, and the whole image doesn't look particularly realistic. Finally, we move on to the lighthouse image, the scourge of many an upscaler, and historically speaking, Gigapixel and Photo AI are the only upscalers that have been able to do this image any kind of justice at all. We can see that Photo AI has captured more detail, and at least when viewed from normal distances remains relatively usable, but the same can't be said for Luminar Neo. Now, as an aside, one of the virtues, apparently, of switching to the subscription model with Photo AI is access to Topaz Photo AI's cloud rendering features. And in this case, it means the standard max upscaling model. Now, I ran this very same image under standard, which is the normal integrated non-cloud powered upscaler, and that is the sample that we see here. I then ran it through the cloud version, expecting big things. However, the difference was actually worse, and I could argue that Luminar Neo's output is actually superior to Topaz Photo AI's cloud-powered standard max model. Now, this isn't to say that standard max doesn't work very well on all images, but it certainly does suggest that it doesn't work well on all and can actually deliver inferior results to Topaz Photo AI's own inbuilt standard model. Anyway, to conclude upscaling, we can say that Topaz Photo AI remains superior to Luminar Neo in most cases. However, there are times where Luminar Neo will certainly give you a result that's good enough. Now, one of the things I love most about Photo AI is its blur correcting sharpening. Not only does it offer artifact-free sharpening, but it also correction for poor focus and motion blur, meaning that you can sort of turn those nearly photos into keepers. Now, Luminar Neo does its best shot at replicating this and actually comes pretty close with Super Sharp AI. Now, the strange thing I've found about Super Sharp is that although it does offer 3 different levels of severity in terms of low, middle and high, I find that for the most part only low actually works and actually produces a reasonable result. I would still give the nod to Topaz Photo AI, but in many cases Luminar Neo could be good enough, depending on the nature of the photo and, of course, the severity of the blur. Now then, as I was saying before, one of the perks with Topaz Photo AI subscriptions is inclusive access to cloud rendering, and in this case, the Super Focus AI mode. Now, you can use Super Focus locally using your own hardware to render. However, your own hardware is unlikely to be up to scratch and you could wait a very long time indeed. Running this image through the cloud renderer with Super Focus actually yielded quite an impressive result, certainly very defined. From a normal viewing distance, this could perhaps be the best looking result, but from a close-up 1:1 pixel view, as in the case here, we can see that the Super Focus iteration of this image looks just perhaps a little bit over-processed. Therefore, you might prefer to use Photo AI's standard sharpening model or indeed Luminar Neo's Super Sharp AI. Now, once again, I would have to give the win to Photo AI. However, in this particular race, Luminar Neo does push it quite hard. And again, for those of you not deblurring many photos, or at least have no critical need, such as those of you who aren't professional wedding photographers, you might find that Luminar Neo is good enough. But for those of you who really depend on getting that sharp image and have no chance to try again, Topaz Photo AI might be the better way to go. Now, our last comparison of this video is the AI erase brush, and in this particular race I have to give the nod to Luminar Neo. Now, Photo AI has its remove brush and it's exceptionally well named in that we brush over the element that we want to get rid of, and so it goes. Now, we can see on this first sample, if we look very closely, we can sort of see these sort of blue marks that kind of look like blue ink, if you like, sort of in the area where our bird used to be, while the output of Luminar Neo is far more clear and far more convincing. When it comes to our other samples, we can see that it's an incredibly close race, and you may favour one or the other, but it's not really easy to say which is best. In our final sample, the bee on the flower, we can see that both have had a sort of slightly different interpretation of how the image should look like without the bee. But I would argue that the Luminar Neo version is more true to the original. But the bottom line is, if you are looking for a tool that does have an excellent generative AI erase tool, I really think that you would be good with either of these applications. Therefore, I would give the nod to Luminar Neo as it is the cheaper of the two options. So, to conclude, is Luminar Neo a worthy substitute to Topaz Photo AI? Well, not quite. It is certainly not a fair fight. Photo AI remains the better noise reduction application by a considerable margin, a better upscaler for the most part, and typically a slightly better deblurring tool to boot. However, when it comes to the erase brush feature, I find both of them have rough parity, and you could argue one is better than the other depending on what your preference might be. However, Luminar Neo is considerably cheaper than Photo AI, despite the fact that it offers all of these photo enhancement features plus full-blown photo management and editing. Thus, for some of you with more casual and infrequent photo enhancement needs, you may find Luminar Neo better bang for buck. But for those of you that success depends on the best possible outcome, regardless of price, Photo AI remains the better bet. Now, at this point of the video, I'd like to remind you all that I am indeed an affiliate for both Photo AI and Luminar Neo, which means really I don't mind which horse that you pick. However, I always recommend that you try these applications for yourself, and you can do exactly that. Just drop down to the description box below and you will find links to free trials. You can also do the same via the Silent Peak store over at Silent Peak Photo. Here you will find links to free trials on many different photo editing applications, along with the latest pricing and exclusive promo codes. If you like this kind of content, do subscribe, like and comment. What would you like to see next? Would you like me to compare Photo AI to On1 Photo Raw? Any other application? Let me know in the comments below. I do hope you found this comparison useful. My name's Richard from Silent Peak, and I wish you a very good day. Bye-bye.